What's going on, y'all? This is Jason. I've got more problems like always. So we went to change the light bulb out in the low beam the other day, and the low beam bulb had like a bubble on it. And look at this connector. The rubber seal on here feels sticky, and this is melted. Also, look at the wire. Don't know how any of this happened. Obviously this got hot and melted, so don't know if it was a defective bulb that caused this and caused the plastic to burn back, but a couple of the wires are also frayed. I didn't put this bulb in here. This used to be my dad's car, and I don't normally put the lowest setting bulb in. The standard one, usually I go with the second step up. I'm not trying to blind everybody going down the road and pay a ridiculous price for bulbs. I mean, it's bad enough that a set of bulbs cost, about 50 bucks. But, so I get them, that's the mid-range that I pay for. And so anyway, the standard was in here. I didn't put that in here, so maybe it was because it was a cheaper bulb. I don't know. But anyway, we got some melting going on. Melted the wire insulation back. Some wires are frayed. And so what we're going to do is I have purchased standard ignition S553. It is a assembly. I paid 20 bucks for this. I got it at O'Reilly's. And so what we're going to do, I hate it when this stuff the wire colors don't match, but it does have one black wire and one purple wire for the one that I bought. So I was assuming that the black wire would still match and the purple on the new one would match up to the green, but, and I am correct. So this is the new one. Looks a little different because it's got this gray part on the back, but the front part of it looks the same. The AC Delco, which, this is what this is factory. I think it was for around $35 or more. And look, standard ignition is good stuff. You can actually, if you go on eBay and you want to get something really cheap, you can get something like this. You can get 2 of these. That's got a different kind of connector. I was looking for the same thing. You can get 2 of them, but it's a different kind of squeeze connector for $10. But I'm sure that's some kind of cheap made in China stuff, which this right here is made in China, so whatever. But maybe this is made to some better standards, standard ignition, whatever. But like I say, this was 20 bucks. It wasn't the high end, it wasn't the low end. So if you look at this plug, see how I can stick my fingernail up in this side? You can't on this side. And so if you hold it like this, with the opening at the bottom, there's not an opening at the top, the black wire is on the right-hand side. Okay. If you do the same thing with this one, there is no opening on the top. Well, it's kind of melted and stuff, but you can see the openings on the bottom. The black wire is on the right. So that's the way they're both wired up the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to cut this off, strip the wire back. Cut this off and strip the wire back. These are pre-cut a little bit. You just got to pull this end off. There are different options that you can use to connect this together. You can use a butt connector, which is basically a tube with it's a tube with like a metal sleeve or aluminum sleeve on the inside. I'm not sure what the metal on the inside is made of, and it's plastic on the outside. And what you do is you stick your wire in both sides of it and crush it down on the wire, and you've got your connection there. But if you also want to make this more weatherproof, you can you could do that, and you could put some heat shrink over it. But what I plan on trying to do with this, and I haven't done any soldering in a long time, is I plan on stripping both these back, solder them together if I've got some solder with flux in it. And I did find my heat gun, and then I'm going to put some shrink tubing over it. That way it'll be protected from the elements, the wire won't be exposed, and I think it'll be a better job there. Y'all, to be honest, I haven't done any soldering in like maybe over 25 years. So we're gonna do it. I'm gonna show you in process how it's going. I'm not gonna be filming while I'm doing it, but I'll pick up and show you, hey, look, I'm doing this. Hey, look, I'm doing this, okay? If you've never used wire strippers, this is a good style of wire strippers to use. They've got different sizes depending on the gauge of the wire. And what you do is what you want to do when you use these, the point is to cut just the plastic. And you use this after you've cut around the plastic, and you pull the plastic part off of it, leaving just the wire exposed. And these different parts here is if you were crimping a butt connector to a wire. So those are the different gauge butt connectors, or I believe that's how you would judge that. Anyway, to get the yellow, blue, and red, that's usually the colors of the butt connectors. And I'm not sure what this part of it's for. It says ignition terminals here, wire cutter. Y'all, these have been in the family for a long time. This is some pliers that my dad bought a long time ago. So let me get with this. So this part just pulled right off with my fingers, easy, because it was already cut around. And now I have to cut the other one. This is on the new pigtail here that I bought, new connector. So y'all, I tested it out on a little piece I cut off with the wire cutters. With the strippers, and it appears that that's going to be an 18. All right, so that's what I'm going to use to strip the wire back. Nothing wrong with testing it out. You want to make sure that you're not cutting any wires off when you're doing it too. Y'all, these wire strippers I've got aren't the greatest. I got this one cut all the way around, and I had to actually end up using a knife to try and cut the rest of that back. Of course, if you do that, you want to make sure that you don't damage any of that wire, because you don't want to cut any of these wires off. You want to be able to use all your wire that you can. See how flexible this wire is? This one here, I was having a lot more difficulty. This one's kind of stiff. You get back, I don't know, back to here, it starts, to be more limber. The plastic was really hard, like it was melted into the wire, and the black side was the side that was getting so much heat. So I'm guessing I'm gonna have to end up cutting some of that back. So this is basically all I'm getting whenever I cut it. It's cutting on one side and not the other. These wire strippers are really old. What I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to be really careful, and I'm gonna try and cut the rest of this off with a knife, not damaging the wire, and hopefully I can get this taken care of. So there they are, they're stripped, and I pretty much didn't use the wire stripper. I mean, I did for this one halfway. It made a couple of marks in it, and then it kind of helped me be able to use a knife to be able to strip it back the rest of the way. I got less marks in this one. I don't know if it's because of the hardness of this plastic. It's still a little hard right in here. The insulation on the wire. I use this dull old knife. Okay, just be careful not to cut the wires. All right. Like I say, I don't know if it's when you squeeze this thing together, if they don't come right to perfectly lined up, if they've always been cheap, or if they're a million years old, if they were Klein, I have no idea. So I'm going to use some of this shrink tubing also on it after I get it soldered together. I'm going to use this shrink tubing. Funny thing is, I've had this shrink tubing, I don't know how much shrink tubing costs now, but look at the date on it, 1990. I remember, I think I bought this in probably about 95 whenever I was putting a radio in my 87 Camaro. So I already have one short piece, and I cut me another short piece, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go down to my shop and see if I can find some solder. So I think my problem was with these was just it's cut wire a lot more down at the bottom, because to test my soldering I cut some of this larger wire that I had down the shop and it stripped it just fine. So that was on 12 and I was using it down here around 18, so that just might be dull down there. All right, I'm going to do some test soldering on this, and this is some solder I found in my shop, something that was my dad's. And y'all, my history with soldering is I did it where I worked one time, but we had this stuff called flux, and we had a big pot of solder that we would dip the wires in. And so I've heard before that whenever I was doing some soldering one time before, whenever I was wiring up a radio, was that I kept on having so much trouble with the solder sticking to the wires. And I believe that's because I didn't have any flux. Now this may be like a rosin core or whatever. We've got several different kind down there in the shop, and this wasn't in any kind of packaging or anything, so I'm just going to test it out. And I've got some extra wire down there. I'm just going to do some testing since I don't know what I've got, and I may have to go buy something, or you never know, I may end up stuck with a butt connector. All right, let me get to work. Okay, so I wasn't impressed with my soldering job. Enough that I'm not going to do that. And you know, I always hated about the soldering gun I bought many years ago. It was cheap, of course. It was buying something cheap. So I've got one that doesn't have a stand, it doesn't have a temp, on and off. So it's either plugged in. If it's plugged in, it's on. If it's unplugged, it's off. That kind of thing. It doesn't have an on and off switch. So it's not a real good one. I mean, of course, it heats something up, but I was trying to. Let's see if I can put it on here. This looks absolutely awful. Obviously, I need to do some practice, but I was trying to solder this together and did a terrible job. So we're going to use butt connectors. I've never heard of this being done before, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to squirt some dielectric grease in there. That way I'll help create a it'll be more watertight. And that was kind of the reason why I was wanting to solder the other one together and put shrink tubing on top of it, because it would be a better repair and it would be sealed from the elements. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt some dielectric grease in here, and I'm going to crimp these off. These are called butt connectors. This is in some of my dad's old stuff. These may be the only two blue ones I've got. So I might could have went with red, because red is for the 18 and 22. Should I really go with a red? Should I go buy some red ones? Maybe. I don't know, looking at that. Well, by going by this and looking it up online, I should really be using red. And all I've got is blue and yellow. I think I'm gonna go to AutoZone and buy a variety pack. That way I'll be covered. I wanna use the right one for the job. So this is what I got. The heavy duty butt connectors. There were several different options, different kinds of butt connectors that you get. Dorman's are usually a pretty good brand that you can rely on. These are the 22 to 18. That has to do with the gauge of the wire. And I got a pack of 10 for $6.49 at AutoZone. And on my way back, it's always something, isn't it? So I got a low coolant light on my truck, which doesn't get driven very often. And looks like here's some gurgling going on. It was smoking like crazy as soon as I got home. Hear the gurgling? So I don't know what's going on here. Obviously we got a blowout somewhere of antifreeze. It's always an expense, isn't it? So it's wet all up in here. I don't know where the leak is. See where the wetness is, see where the gurgling is. So this is a 99 Z71 with like 240 something thousand miles on it. Oh, let's see exactly what it is. Whew. So the heater core. So I believe this is the in on the heater core and this is the out. And one of the lines blew off. It's no big deal, easy fix. I love easy fixes. All right, back to the Impala. It's always something, isn't it? Hear that joker gurgling? I'm glad I didn't go very far. Glad I was just on the way home. Let's get back to work. So it says these are transparent nylon and they allow for proper insertion and crimp of wire. That's one thing I don't like about the solid color ones, that you can't see how far the wire's up in there. You just kind of guess at it. Crimps on the wire and the insulator, providing a permanent connection, maximum connection for high vibration applications. And it is the Dorman 84101 for the 22 to 18 gauge. Okay, so see how it's got a larger area than a smaller area? The smaller area is actually for the wire. So I've got it stuck all the way in here. And then I'm gonna use the part that says 22 to 18, and I'm gonna crimp that. See where the end of my fingernail is? In that area, I'm gonna squeeze it. So I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but see that squeezed in area right there at the end of my fingernail on this side? And I'm pushing on it with my fingers and I can't push it off. It's got a good clamp down on those wires. I'm gonna do the same thing for this black here, and then I'm gonna clamp it to the car. So it looks like a backtrack, didn't we? You notice there's no butt connectors on here. Well, what happened was the butt connector, the connections were great on this, but then whenever I went to attach it to here, I squeezed down on both of them. This wire appears to, that's attached to the car wiring harness, it appears to be a little bit smaller. Anyway, it goes, when I end up squeezing these butt connectors down that were already attached to here, I was able to just easily slip them off of this, you know, the wire that's attached to the car's wiring harness. So they were already squeezed down on this. So I had to end up, obviously once they were squished down and everything, they were kind of garbage then, because I slipped them out. I tried slipping them back in and squeezing down on them again. It just didn't work out. So what I did is cut the bolt connectors off. About 75 cents, another 75 cents, probably about $1.50 worth of bolt connectors I cut off. And then I put some new ones on this side. So I crimped them both here and out here. I crimped them in two different places, and I just squeezed the mess out of it. Hopefully that's gonna hold it. And then I'm gonna put these in and crimp down on those, and I'll plug a light bulb up to it, and we'll see if it works. So the directions said on the package, said crimps on both wire and insulator. So I crimped it in two places, right here, and two places right here, and also the part where it's aluminum. That's what this is on the inside. It's aluminum. Where it was a little bit larger and it goes over the insulation of the wire, I crimped down on that also. Okay, so this joker's in there. It better not come loose. I'm gonna go get a light bulb and plug it in here and cut the headlights on and make sure it works before I put this all back together. So I've got a light bulb plugged in. I'm gonna step into the car and I'm going to cut the headlights on and see if this works, or if the smoke comes boiling off the car. It'd be my luck that something like that happens. The whole thing catch on fire. All right, I'll cut these headlights on. Boom, light bulb. Light bulb. Fantastic. Good job, Jason. Took long enough. All right, y'all. This is another repair job by Jason. So let's talk about how much this cost to fix. So the bulb was about $25, a little less. I think I got the pack for 40 something. Anyway, let's just say $25 here. This was 20. A pack of 10 of these was $6.49. I wasted 2 of them and ended up using 2. So $25, $20, $45. Plus had to buy a pack. What's 2 of them's value? About $1.50. So I fixed it myself at one. I got brain failure. It's because I'm trying to talk and everything at the same time. So anyway, let's say it's $25. This is 20. That's $45. Couple of bucks. Let's say you had to buy the whole pack. So that's $45. You're up to a little over $50. You're under $55, including tax, to fix it yourself. And it wasn't hard to do. So really, all the tool you really needed for this whole deal. But with me going through all this soldering and got this, and you know, I've had these forever. I've had the soldering iron. These were my dad's. So look, all I really needed was to buy the bulbs, to buy the connector, to buy some of these, okay? And if you don't have some of these, a good set of these. I was having trouble with the strippers because obviously the 18 down here has been used a lot. I just need to sharpen that edge up, okay? Y'all, that wasn't a hard fix. It just took me a while to do it, and I kind of fumbled around. I really wanted to solder it because it'd really be a better connection. I liked the idea of keeping the weather out with the heat shrink, but this wire is inside, will be inside this housing, so it will be protected from the elements. There's a cap that goes on the inside over it that tries to keep moisture out. So I'm going to end up taking this bulb back off, and I'll put some dielectric grease up in there, and I can feel the heat coming off that thing. So y'all, I just wanted to tell you thanks for watching this video again, and happy trails on your repairs on your vehicles. And now I gotta go figure out what's going on with the truck. I know what's going on with it. I lost some antifreeze coming home, and one of the hoses came off of the heater core on the engine side of the firewall. So let me get this put back together and get the headlight put in, and thank you for watching this video. I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I just want to tell you, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to use any dielectric grease this time. This thing has got a really good seal around where this rubber is. It was pretty tight getting it off there. I really don't think it's necessary. I think it's already pretty weather tight. So I'm not using it. Good advice, bad advice, I don't know. But I'm not gonna do it this time. So this isn't something I was expecting. So this little deal was clipped onto the back of here. I was assuming that it stayed on, even though it was different than the one that I had on. This is the one that was on there and didn't have anything like that on it. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it'll work. Maybe it's just a new and improved version. But see, this is what it looks like afterwards, after taking this clip off. So what it was is it wasn't gonna fit in here with this clip on it. So I was starting to wonder if I was gonna have to cut the whole thing off, being that I'd already wired it up. So fortunately, once it unclipped from right here, it came out and the wires just slipped out the sides. I don't know what it's for, but maybe it's for somebody else's vehicle, since it's, maybe it's, obviously these aren't made just for Impalas. They're made for other vehicles too, so maybe it's important somewhere along the way. So I don't know what the deal is. This thing's been a royal pain. So anyway, I guess I'd forgotten, since it's been a while since I took it out. So you gotta put the bulb in first. You can't have it connected when you put it in. At least I couldn't get it into the socket that way. So you put the bulb in the socket, and then you gotta put the wire on it. And it's been kind of a pain to get it started, but obviously I'm gonna have to stick something on the back side of this and help myself squeeze it in. But It's not easy to get back in here. I haven't had that much trouble in ones I've done in the past, so I don't know if there's something funky about the way this bulb is made. These are, I know that I think my dad replaced these somewhere along the way. These are aftermarket housings. You never know, those could be made a little off. The mold could be. So, you know, there's several different factors that go into that. This is aftermarket, this is an original, and this is an original. So that's the way that kind of stuff goes. I just used a screwdriver, applied some pressure here, applied some pressure here to help push it in. And there it is. I'll test the headlights out one more time before I put this thing back in place. Yeah, we have a headlight. Okay. Get this thing buttoned back up. All I gotta do is I gotta put the cap back on here and put it back in place, put the screw in here, and put the clip in place here. It'll be done.